Welcome everyone to the Winning Together podcast. My name is Shay Joy Dog Aslett here hosting, and across me I've got the coach of coaches, Chris. I make what matters matter, Avery.
What's up, what's up, what's up?
Thanks for joining us for another Winning Together podcast where we practice rockstar recovery, and recovery is something that applies to everyone all the time. We're always either in it, coming out of it, it'll come to us, or someone close to us that we know, we can be there for them in their recovery, whether it's drug addiction or emotions or getting done with a big awesome experience that you're having some kind of let down or postpartum or your wife or whatever.
Well said.
Okay.
Well done.
How are you doing today?
Feeling energetic, feeling aligned, and feeling good today.
It's good to be alive in your life.
It most certainly is.
Mm-hmm. If you don't understand that distinction, what matters is if you're listening to this and you are feeling like your life is happening to you, it's not being created from you, we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about how you create life from you and that it's not just happening around you or without your influence or participation.
Huge distinction.
I think that's something that substances definitely rob us of, is that connection and that feeling of choice and influence and possibility.
Yeah, are you consciously living or unconsciously living?
Oh, what do you mean by that?
So, addiction of drugs and alcohol, addiction of too much TV, addiction of pornography, addiction of overeating, those all become unconscious things, right? We go into a robot mode. That's the reason they are patterns. And if we are consciously, it's the same thing as when you said, is life happening in a sense to you or for you, right? Like, are you creating the life you want, or is the life being created onto you?
Mm-hmm.
And those are, so if life being created onto you, you're unconsciously living. If you're consciously living, that means you have intention, you're aware, you're going through the process, and you're surprising yourself throughout the day by being conscious enough to go like, oh, this may be the same thing I've done 1,000 times. But because I'm conscious, it's now different than it was when I was unconscious. Like one time I was in the park, and I was reading a book, and sitting on this bench, listening to the beautiful river run, and this dog came into the park with, his, I'm assuming mom and dad, we'll call him that, like, human mom and dad. And he just running around sniffing the park, sniffing everywhere. And I just pulled my head up from the book and I looked. And I guess I was conscious as well. But I watched him. And he could have been to this park 1,000 times. And it's just like a baby. They can do, or like a little kid, they can do the same thing and they can do it so many times. But to them it's this new adventure because they're conscious. They're not sitting there going so unconscious that it's just a program running in the background. So that's where I find the distinction.
I love how you're bringing that up. What we wanted to address, or what's coming up for us and what we're seeing in the recovery space today, is the practice and what are you practicing, and things like happiness and joy and connection and getting along with your spouse and talking nice to your family and not getting codependent on your coworkers. Those are all a practice. And here's the crux of it is, if you don't like where you work and you're not happy, well, you're spending a significant portion of your day there, and you go home and things aren't how you want them, so you focus on what isn't happening and what what's happening that you don't want to see, or what your kids haven't done, or what your roommates haven't cleaned up after. That when you go on vacation, you're not going to like that either, because being happy is a practice. So you can't say or tell yourself, or let me correct that. The false underlying story or script is, I will be happy when, or then I will. Once we go on vacation, Disneyland cruise comes and it's going to be great. And you get there and your flight's delayed, and you get seasick, and your kids get lost, and the food's no good, and your wife's annoying, and you're being annoying, and then you're home back at work, and it just is awful, and you can't believe it's over, and it was too short, etc., etc., etc. If you're not happy with where you're at, if you don't practice being happy at your work or what you're doing, if you're not happy with the possibility of becoming better or different or growing, when you get what you think it is that will bring you happiness, you won't be happy.
I love that. It reminds me of the quote, everywhere you go, there you are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, we think, oh, I gotta move, I gotta change this situation. There's one thing that needs work. There's one thing that needs conscious practice instead of running old patterns. And when you were talking about addiction, for me, like for years, I just felt lost. I felt lost in that's the reason it's one of my favorite questions to ask people is, who are you?
Mm-hmm.
Because most of us are practicing a pattern of who we are, but we're not even consciously aware of who we are.
Right.
To start to practice something different, but we're running a pattern of who we are, and we stay stuck. And there is no surprise, there's no fun in that. If you do the same thing thousands and thousands of times, it becomes very mundane and it doesn't excite you anymore. But to practice new patterns, to start to practice something new and be consciously aware of it, then you get to surprise yourself because it's something new. But you got to figure out for me, I had to figure out who I wanted to be. And if I wasn't measuring up to that and I wasn't even consciously aware of who I wanted to be, I would just continue to run the same old crappy patterns and it'd keep me stuck. But if I wanted something different, I had to get a new vision of who I was and start to practice new. But that became very exciting. And some of it's scary too because it's new. But some of it is exciting and fun, and you get to surprise yourself and you get to go like, wow, I'm so much more than those old patterns that I used to think I was.
The aliveness that comes into your life, I mean, if you're feeling lost or feeling disconnected or rejected or to start feeling that aliveness in your life I should say I can only imagine because I know.
I was going to say, yeah, you definitely experienced that.
It is one of the most exciting, thrilling feelings to start feeling good about your life, good about yourself, good about where you're at, okay with how things are and okay with how things aren't.
Yeah, and addiction doesn't have anything to do with it.
Mm-mm.
I mean, I know, we look at people in addiction as so vastly different. Like, wow, why do they have to deal with that?
Or people who aren't in addiction as normies,
normal
people,
yeah.
So they do it that way too.
I love that. And I mean, that's a word that goes around and gets used a lot, normies. And I will say, to me, I don't think there is any normal. We create a vision of the straw man that's normal. But again, we all have those things where we are unconsciously running patterns that we tend to want to get rid of. And I don't care, this has nothing to do with finances or how wealthy or successful, we are all doing it at some category in our life. And I'm not saying you have to be aware of every category of your life, but I think it's important to evaluate our patterns and go like, do I like this? Who do I want to become? Where am I headed? Does this pattern serve me? Because some patterns do. Then there will also be patterns that don't serve us. And when we look at those patterns, that's when we have to see if we're starting to examine our patterns, starting to become aware. We're starting to become consciously aware. So we can go like, okay, if this is not who I want to be, who do I want to be and where am I headed? Then I need to start practicing a new pattern.
Here's some things they found out through research. The script, so there's terms for these scripts, patterns, subconscious beliefs, self-limiting beliefs, self-empowering beliefs. These are programs that your brain learns to run, and they most often develop when you're a kid and you're trying to make sense of the world, when something traumatic or significant has happened. And they're mostly untrue, and you use them to survive in a certain situation, and now often you're in a place where you don't need them to survive anymore. So the good thing is it's not your fault that they're happening. It's your fault if you you become aware and you continue to choose, and when you made a
It's your
decision about that.
responsibility. Yeah, it's your responsibility to take responsibility, to understand it's not your fault. Like when I was sexually abused, when I was physically abused, and I'm not saying it was like I can play the victim, but again, that can always lead to unhappiness, because if I'm the victim, then I have no control over my life. Life is happening to me, and I'm running a pattern. But if I want a better life, it was my responsibility to do the work. And at some point, I became grateful for the work that needed to be done. Because without me taking responsibility, I'd still be stuck in the same way I was before, because I was a victim and it was thrust upon me. But then I had freedom because I chose to take responsibility and start to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think freedom is a big word for most of us. It's a scary word sometimes.
You took back your power and ability to choose what you wanted the ending of the story to become.
Yes. So you were saying though about those and the things we call them. So
yeah.
Explain that more.
So they happen when we're kids. They are mostly untrue. They are contextual. So these things happen in a certain context, they work. You got to work hard to make money. As a teenager, you need to work hard to make money. As a business owner, if you follow the same pattern you learned as a teenager and you just work more hours to make more money, your life will become highly disharmonious and unbalanced and unhealthy, because what gets blown out the side is your health or your relationships or your spirituality, your temperament become not fun to be around.
Yeah.
So it's the adapting, so the awareness. I'm playing around with the new phrase. So those of you that might have heard G.I. Joe, that knowing is half the battle, I've been substituting awareness is half the battle.
I love that.
The awareness that I got this from somewhere, and it's mostly not true, and now I have the opportunity to create something that lights me up, that excites me, that brings my power back, that creates really what I really want is X, and allows you to move in that direction. And so when you realize that, okay, what I'm telling myself isn't true, you own the payoff. There's some payoff. If you tell yourself that you're the victim of some kind of abuse when you're a kid, okay, great. You can feel low. You can justify eating crappy food. You can be pissy and not fun to be around because, this happened to you. You can don't have to get a job, or you can be at a job, you can be really lame and really unhappy and unhealthy because, this happened to you. And you can also not try new things, and you don't have to, love somebody because, that thing happened to you. And so you allow yourself to become and show up different in different ways. And it's so the rewriting of the script, it happens in a similar way. You've got to tie it in or tap into that subconscious point, like place that you go. So, and so it is work. It's not complicated. How do you get to be happy? You be happy. How do you become wealthy? You become wealthy. And don't overthink it. I want to practice being happy. So in this moment, wherever you're at, just be happy. And as you practice it, the feedback you get is not put downs, it's not against you, it's not life getting harder, it's just the feedback, and you're like, oh, this is what it's going to take. And then you focus on the rewards you get from being happy. Oh, if I'm happy at work, I get along with people more. I get more of what I want. My health doesn't get trashed. I'm more able to be nice to the people that matter to me when I go home. I get more bonuses. I get more opportunities. People want to work with me, etc., etc.
Love it. So I'm going to ask the obvious question. I think if awareness is half the battle, what's the other half?
The other half of the battle is, how do you then break the pattern, or more importantly, establish the pattern that you want? So I'm going to go here with you. And what I mean by that is, this is my brainstorming with you. There's certain times in the day or where you're at, there's gaps where your old pattern is not like driving it so dominantly. So gaps in your life, in your day, when you're looking for ways and how to insert a new pattern, like this is where I want to be different. When you first wake up in the morning, you just slept. When you wake up, you've got kind of a fresh emotional slate. If you start complaining, it's because you chose to start complaining and you start bringing the crap from yesterday into today. So there's the gap. You can practice gratitude, prayer, do something for somebody, eat good breakfast, go for a walk, whatever. Doing cold work, taking a cold shower. After you have a cold shower, your brain resets. You're not holding on to some of those things. After you work out, there's a gap. You have this. Your body's not so run by the script that I am angry or unhappy or addicted or whatever. Meditation, being in nature, doing something you really enjoy, and coming out of in a flow state. So there's certain areas you can start creating a wedge or a gap where you can insert the new thing you want to do. And I think you had a really good example that I hope you'd share about inserting something new and creating a gap for yourself or creating space.
Yeah, so I'd love to. So last night I get home and my wife is finishing up work with her business partner. She leaves, and then we jump back to working on my business, and she starts to engage with hey, should we do this? We need to follow up with this person. These are the things we need to do. And my pattern is instantly overwhelm, stress, which then I fluctuate to anger, defensive mechanism, pushes somebody away. I don't have to sort through it, just get angry. It's just an old pattern that I practice so many times in my life. And so that was an old pattern. I decided, okay, this is not, I know the end result of this game. I've experienced this enough. I know this pattern and how it ends. So I decided to practice something new.
What was so that you obviously are aware, was it what you felt in your body emotionally? Were you starting to talk a certain way? Was the reaction you gotten from your partner? Was she giving you faces or?
No, great question. So I don't think so normally I would say I'm unaware enough to know that when her reaction is my awareness.
Gotcha.
And I'm practicing this. So my practicing of a new thing in my life, a new way to surprise myself is to understand it before it gets to that point. Mm-hmm. So last night was an understanding of I can feel my mind starting to race from thing to thing, and I can start to feel it in my body, this uncomfortableness in my chest, a tightening of it. So I said, hey, you know what? Those things all need to be done. I'm going to go meditate though. I'm going to take however long, I'm going to go put on some binaural beats, I'm going to lay down and I'm going to meditate. And luckily I did that because I came back with a whole new energy, right? It feels good to feel good. You can again, everywhere I go, there I am. So if I would have carried that, I would have carried that into any business we were doing anyway. Even if we would have got the business done successfully, if we would have spent another hour working, however long, it would have been all tainted with the energy that I was carrying into it, which is this stress, overwhelm, anxiety. So I said no to myself, and I went and did the thing that I normally wouldn't do because, hey, we're working business. We got to get this done just like anybody. We got this. We got to get this next thing done. We got to get this next thing done. We got to do. And it's tough for me to stop and just go, nope, there's no do. There is an energy and feeling good and wanting to be connected to my wife better and connect to the people that we're communicating with. So I practiced something new last night, and I went and meditated.
And in neuroscience, hat tip to the great work with Dr. Joe Dispenza, the way that you start then acting on that awareness is surprise yourself. And in that moment, you felt the anxious feeling, the overwhelm, the tension, your breathing's going to get more sharp, you're going to get more tense, you're going to get more directive. It's late at night or later. It's the end of the day. Of course, you're kind of putting all these ingredients into the recipe of I'm going to go to this place. And you said, boop, hey, hon, I see I'm doing this, and I'm not going to go there. And when you get to that point, guys, it's you don't need to move from A to B. All you need to do is move from A to not A. And you didn't have to go meditate so you got happy, or so that that you're zen, or that you were super nice. Like there was no, you just had to go do something different and surprise yourself and give give you the space to come up with something different.
Yeah, it was help to get to neutral, right? To help just let go and not hold on, because it's easy for me to hold on to that anger and stress. And I expressed to her, like, here's how I'm feeling. I'm gonna go meditate, just so she knew and so it was clear. But it was not about getting anything different. It was more about letting go, right? Letting go of A, not getting to B, because there is no B. There was just letting go of A, so I didn't have to hold on to A, so I didn't think I had to walk around with A for the rest of the night or for several more hours, and then let go of it.
The importance of going from A to not A is it keeps the space of possibilities wide open for whatever the universe wants to respond back. As you change your vibration, you're going to get some kind of different action coming your way.
Love that.
And a life that is surprising is livening, and the universe loves to throw lots of good action your way if you're willing to get good at feeling good and practice being happy, practice doing different. It's a practice. Happy people practice doing happy things. We were talking with one of our peers just earlier, and he said, I realize that I like to dance, and I think that maybe even human beings, they're wired to like to dance, like just really groove to music. And one of the things I've learned is dance parties are one of the hallmarks of happy families.
I love them.
Yeah, you're a happy person. Shocker! I love to dance. Our family loves to dance. Don't be surprised, guys. It's not just something we're just making up. It's a hallmark. Happy people are happy in all the same ways, and unhappy people are unhappy in all the unique, varied, special ways they decide to create.
I could totally relate to that story that he told us to. When I was in my early, before teens, I used to love to dance. I would go to dance parties, people would put circles around me and stuff, and I had such a great time, dancing with people. Yeah. And then between teenage to late 20s, I did not dance at all. I was so, when he was talking about he would make fun of people or get worried, I would get worried about what people would think. And then I went to this event and I worked, and sobriety helped with it as well, just, clearing, feeling good, right? Feeling good. So then I felt good, so I wanted to dance. I went to this event and they were playing some music, and I just remember dancing like crazy and dancing with all these different people. And it's just electrifying. It makes you feel vibrant. It connects you energy-wise to anybody else. Even if they're not dancing, they just feel better because you're dancing around them. So when he was telling that story, I totally vibed off that and related to that.
In some of your coaching, you've seen it doesn't matter if the person's 22 or 82. In the same room, people like to dance and be around. And it doesn't matter if the music's their genre or whatnot, but if you're giving out good energy and you're just feeling good, it lifts the room. It is a practice, and you can start then choosing to feel good.
Well said.
And I think that's the essence of what I wanted to bring up and share with you today is practice joy, practice surprise. The self-talk, I know that was a big break for you too, of talking nicely to yourself. It's okay to dance and it's okay to want to dance. And that's a big topic goes through it. But part of your script, addressing your script, your self-talk, your negative, really ugly self-talk, critical stuff, part of it will just fall off when you realize, oh, the script or the story I'm telling myself is bogus, and you start deciding you want to write, do something different, write something different. A lot of that self-talk will just go away. You don't have to talk nice to yourself or look in the mirror and do a mantra. You just create a new story that you want to have, an outcome you want to have. I want to be happy at work. I want to find a way to like work so that when I get home, I like being a dad, or I like being a partner, or I like being good with my dog, or whatever it is. That's how you start practicing. And some of that will just go because you're not feeding it anymore.
Well said. I love that. That's a huge breakthrough.
Chris, I love that you're making things that matter, and things that don't matter, and you're bringing things that are intangible matter and bringing them into real life matter, because that matters. Avery?
Feeling is mutual.
This is Shay, the Joy Dog Aslett. We'll go ahead and sign off today. Find a way to win. Find somebody to win with. Reach out to us if we can help you win. IamRTC.com. I Am Recovery is the outfit that sponsors the Winning Together podcast. Thank you guys. And you can reach them at 801-407-9998. Connect, win together. Have a great day. Cheers.